So, in one of his rare interviews, the government of Niger, actually President General Abdurrahman Tihiani, has accused of Benin collaborating with France to destabilize Niger. Now, here is the video that he gave this speech in front of his military. Let me just give you a bit of an intro. So he announced, the president of Niger, Abdurrahman Tihiani, announced the presence of French military in Benin who are accused of trying to destabilize Niger. So according to the president, these statements confirm external maneuvers against the stability and sovereignty of the country. Now, according to the president, the French military has been deployed to Benin after being expelled from Niger, where they are coordinating actions to undermine Niger's stability, including supporting subversive groups and terrorists. Chiani stressed that such actions are part of the systematic encirclement of the Sahel states, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, neo-colonial interests, he called it. He urged also Africans to be proud and trust the local defense forces. Now, this is not the first time, of course, one of the Sahel states telling us or exposing the French government, how they are collabing with the neighboring countries like Benin, also Cote d'Ivoire, and to some extent Chad as well. And those expelled French military are in these neighboring countries. Now let's listen. It's a translation taken from Visit L'Afrique YouTube channel, so credit goes to there. So yeah, it might not be 100% clear, but it's definitely, you can follow it.
We have tasted enough misery and we have decided to take responsibility so as not to taste it again. Military non-commissioned. Officer, sapper, gendarme, National Guard, peacekeeper, customs officer and forest guard, on behalf of the Republic of the Sovereign People, I congratulate you and thank you. Thank you on behalf of the delegation accompanying me. Thank you to my husband. For the sacrifices, the enormous sacrifices made to keep our dear homeland of Niger standing despite adversity. Indeed, for more than 10 years, we have been facing insecurity that has been carried and implanted in our Sale area. This insecurity for which all the defense and security forces mobilized to put up. Fierce resistance at first before reversing it and regaining the initiative that we have retained since then. Indeed, the apparent results today are the fruit of an enormous sacrifice made by all the defense and security forces with the support of the resilient people of our Nigerian territory, first and then the Confederal one. On behalf of all these martyrs of the FDS and civilians, we pray to Allah that their souls rest in peace and that He grants them His rahama. To all the families who are victims of this imported insecurity, we express the solidarity of the Republic of Niger. And when I speak of imported security, I know what I am talking about. The adversary, the enemy. Ask yourself the question, how can structured and organized states with all the components to ensure their survival face difficulties in renewing equipment and better ensuring equipment, a permanent supply to the defense and security forces? When we see these mercenaries changing motorcycles in thousands, changing equipment in tens of thousands rather, and that no organization, according to what we are led to believe, is behind this old rifleman. It goes without saying that they benefit from the support of the same sponsors who established them in our Sahel region, who supervise them in our Sahel region, and who continue to equip them in our Sahel region. This is a truth and an irrefutable truth. The adversaries, the mercenaries, are supported by the Western powers that we are all aware of. We will never stop saying this so that those who support them know that we know and that we will take measures to provide them with an appropriate response. Since July 26, 2023, we have understood and all the defense and security forces have understood this, supported by the resilient people of Niger that our security, our defense is a moral obligation of our defense and security forces.
I was muted. So I just want to make a quick reference just for those of you to remind that how Benin has been along the way plotting to destabilize Niger and the Sahel states, because this is the first country actually from ECOWAS to come out and to say we have to work together with the Sahel states. We cannot continue alienating them. But guess what? That it seems that now that all is actually something like in calculation of something that the government, Patrice Talon, the president said that, because right after that, what came is, if you remember, Niger was supposed to export its oil for the first time, and it was to China, and that refinery, no, the route to export, the pipeline was built by China, and it was using Benin's port. And Benin, immediately after they agreed everything, then they blocked it. In fact, also plotted people to come and loot from this pipeline for so that it stops working. So there are things ever since that revolution happened in Niger that the Benin government has been doing. So that it was there for the past 2 years. If you remember, Niger's government has accused Benin of hosting French troops and blocking Niger's oil exports via their new pipeline. Though some reports suggest Benin is suffering from the border shutdown, which forces Niger to use Togo for imports and exports. So the crisis has disrupted Niger's plan to increase oil production for export. And that pipeline was built through a loan that was given by China to be paid after Niger export that oil, I don't know for how many months or years in a row, so that it can pay its debt. All that has been disrupted because of this. So I mean, the benefit is mutual, but of course, Benin or Patrice Talon and his government chose who to serve, and by hurting as well their own people. Now, let's continue to hear General Chiani, president of Niger, as he speaks to his military.
This obligation needs the support of the government so that they can carry out the missions entrusted to them and which are known to all. To regain the initiative, to maintain the initiative, and to rid our region of all these criminal mercenaries and their sponsors. And inshallah, it is an oath that the state will not fail in the support it must provide to all of our defense and security forces. But for the fight to be more effective, the defense and security forces must learn to know the adversary, to know the enemy, to know its modus operandi forever and always keep the initiative. If we have indeed won victories, it is because we have understood that it is our responsibility and our entire responsibility to be this bulwark that protects our nation against the waves, the assaults of these criminal gangs. And we must continue to be the pillar on which our country has always rested and will continue to rest, inshallah. The enemy, I speak in terms of modus operandi, not in terms of doctrine, and this is used rightly. The enemy's modus operandi, you must know it, it is mobility. Mobility through discretion ensured by the intelligence provided by these imperialist powers whose ultimate goal is to destabilize and collapse our country. But inshallah, this will of the adversaries, the enemies and their sponsors will be inshallah a total failure. A total failure because we have become aware of our historical responsibility to pass on a testimony that we received from our predecessors. Not to pass it on is to betray history, it is to betray the memory of our ancestors who fought to preserve this land intact, this land of which we are today the worthy heirs. This includes, among others, regarding this docile group, Alpha Said who, despite his handicap, did not fail in his duty to defend his country. The predecessor is also Seriunia Mangu who, despite his status, held out against the infamous Paul Voulay and Chanoin column. We know our history, and this is an advantage because we have a solid instrument here. The enemy from 1896, 97, 99. And up to 1920, through the last full-scale resistance and the dignitaries who opposed this resistance in the part of what we call Abzin, which is one of the last resistances, was a point of reference for us and will continue to be a source of inspiration. The enemy uses all sorts of perfidy, but it is a perfidy that he learned to know through equally perfidious instructors who invaded our territory in the years to which I have just referred and who continue, as we all know, to provide this supervision in perfidy. The enemy proceeds through guerrilla to surprise our defense and security forces. And who says guerrilla says mobility, stealth, and the only defense and security forces must remember is vigilance. The enemy is not beyond our reach. The enemy benefits from intelligence, as I said, and surprises us in our moments of relaxation. This is why we must work on the ground in cantonments to be vigilant. Vigilance must be a permanent feature within the defense and security forces, which are structured and organized so that missions are carried out on a rotating basis and in such a way as to allow fresh troops to be at the forefront at all times to secure our entire territory. As I have said, the state will not fail. Of course, given the needs, we have the impression that much is not being done. but I can assure you that the senior military hierarchy is aware of the efforts that the Nigerian state is constantly making to keep our country standing. We have no other alternative. We have no choice but to devote the meager resources to the security of our country, to the defense and security forces. Perhaps some will say that we have pointed the finger at the imperialist powers, but this is a blatant reality. Remember, for example, when it came to the withdrawal of French forces from our territory, through the French command, their political authorities tried to put pressure on us to withdraw through a neighboring territory, Benin. We know what the intention behind the desire to withdraw to Benin is: a stone's throw from our territory. We had said that the withdrawal of French troops would take place through Chadian territory, across a large part of the national territory, but to reach Chadian territory and go wherever they wanted. To our great surprise, go and check today where I am talking to you at Turu Airport. Turu is an airport with a runway of 3,300 meters. 15 to 20 kilometers at the most west of Perico. You will see in Togo in the W in the P Jari all the forces that we expelled through our territory and across the border with our brother country Chad find themselves or have found themselves on Beninese territory. It is time for those who think that we just like to point fingers to wake up and understand France's determination and will to destabilize us. It is a truth and we will never stop saying it. Just before, there is an amphibious helicopter carrier called Tunner that docked at the autonomous port of Cotonou. On board, there are thousands of French soldiers. You will be told that it is an exercise, but how many ports are more suitable than the Beninese port to conduct this type of exercise? And from what I know and adapt, this must be the 10th landing through amphibious helicopter carriers. On December 7th, there was an order and we follow them regularly. They must be on their 10th landing in Cotonou. That is why, despite the calm, despite the resumption of the initiative, we call on you to be vigilant, both in deployment and in cantonment. Remain vigilant. Listen to the advice of the military authorities and your direct commanders. They know what they are talking about and they speak in the interest of national security. Thank you for everything you are doing and what you will be called upon to do to keep our country standing. We are organizing ourselves at the national and confederal levels so that the confederal space, the troubled Sahel, will always put us in a position of need, in a position of beggars, so that this space is no longer a space occupied by Mandians but by a prosperous people. And on this and for this purpose, to achieve this objective, the state will provide you with all the means to match these possibilities so that the sacrifices you have made and will have to make are not 20, so that our space and our people can know the taste of prosperity, know the taste of happiness. We have tasted enough misery and we have decided to take responsibility so that we will no longer taste misery in the days, months and years to come for the benefit of current and future generations. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for everything you have done. May Allah preserve our country, our dear country, Niger and its people. May Allah preserve our confederation. Thank you to all the officers, non-commissioned officers, engineers, gendarmes, National Guards, peacekeepers, water and forestry officers, and customs officers who always sacrifice themselves to keep Niger standing. Thank you to the families who support your activities, who support and assume the responsibility of head of household in your absence and who assume this responsibility with dignity. Thank you to the people of Niger who have always believed in their defense and security forces and who have shown their willingness to act for the happiness of our country. May Allah preserve us and grant us victory, inshallah. So, it's a safe
So that was the speech of General Abdurrahman Tiani, in which, by the way, he made this speech around the border of Benin, just few kilometers away from the border of Benin in Niger. So now the head of state also spoke. This speech was in over the weekend, and it was in Gaia, a town located just few kilometers from the border with Benin. As you have heard him, he accused Benin hosting French troops on its territory, and also Benin was allowing Western countries to finance and support terrorism. Also, Cote d'Ivoire, the same, in order to destabilize the alliance of the Sahel states. Now, Niger military authorities have used similar arguments like Burkina Faso as well. Burkina Faso exposed what Cote d'Ivoire is doing. Now, General President Tihiani also said during the opening that the opening of the border with Benin would mean it would mean betraying the aspiration of Nigerian people. He's right, actually. It's a slap back on that revolution because Benin is not ready. Benin is not in the same line. Patrice Talon is doing something else. I mean, if you know the background of Patrice Talon, he swear when he come, he will do a 1-year term, even if he was allowed to do 2-year term. Now, guess what? Not even 2 term. He wants to stay there in power and to amend the constitution of the country. So Niger has backstabbed, Benin has backstabbed Niger by closing that pipeline, before the revolution happened. All the import and export was happening for Niger through the port of Benin. Cotonou, am I right? Cotonou is their port. And now they have to shift it to Togo. So all the import and export happens through Togo for Niger. But it's a pity because Benin wanted that. Benin gave them the hope, and they built that pipeline until the port of Benin, the pipeline for the oil. Now all that is for nothing after putting all that, borrowing millions of dollars and building that. Now I don't know if they can redirect it, but they cannot export it, or I don't know how they are doing it, because it was supposed, all the debt was supposed to be paid from the money that they get from the export, and it was actually to be exported to the same country that gave them the loan. It was through loan that China built that pipeline. Yeah, it is what it is. If it was, what good it will be if the ECOWAS, French government will continue, whether it's Emmanuel Macron or any other president come, French life depend on what they get from West Africa. They are not going, they might withdraw military, they might minimize the number of military, they might say, politically speaking, okay, we are more into engaging in a diplomatic engagement, this and that. We have made a strategic change, no more military in West Africa. All that is nonsense because purely France depends on the looting of West Africa. That's where their lifeline is built. I mean, as a matter of fact, I don't even know what the other option is. Well, they have wealth; they can eat what they have stolen so far. But um, the thing is, unless we learn as an African to stand together, to unite, to have that one voice, it's nothing. If it's not Benin today, it will be tomorrow Togo, it will be tomorrow another country, Nigeria, it will be any country that is surrounding there. Because now what no one is paying attention is that when the French military withdraws, there is more US military, there is more Africa. All these landlocked Sahel states are surrounded by all these countries who are hosting AFRICOM there. AFRICOM is the US military in Africa, okay? So they are hosting this US military. In fact, they are moving now their headquarters. I think they are talking, General Langley was going around and trying to make, I think, one of those North African countries, either in Morocco, Mauritius, something like that. So the US military is building up. In fact, US is there to do what the French government was doing. So nobody's paying attention, but they're just strengthening their military there. Well, so unless we speak in one voice, if there's no African country or those neighboring countries can say, look, you have a problem with these countries and we are sharing a border, and under ECOWAS we have signed this and that, or bilaterally, so that will make that, because of that we are unable to host you. You are already you are in a hostile relationship with our neighbor. This kind of terms, they have to come up. Unless we hear that, unless we see that implemented, there's no guarantee that these countries will get a security. This is why you hear Captain Ibrahim Traoré again and again talking. He wants to make Burkina Faso the hub of producing those sophisticated army weapons in Burkina Faso by bringing the technologies and know-how from Russia. Right now, as we speak, he's saying they are sending their students to learn and then, to build that in Burkina Faso. It's not because security was much more important than maybe feeding their people or any other, setting up a manufacturing company, but their economic independence will be also jeopardized unless they work on their security, because now all those terrorist groups have been double, tripled, and they are even having some sophisticated weapons that they did not have before. So they are getting a supply from their sponsors. The Sahel states, they know that this will fall on the deaf ear when it comes to the West, but they have been speaking on international stage, including the United Nations itself. These terrorist groups have sponsors. So unless those sponsors stop donating them or supplying them with this army, they will be, more and more organized. Look what's happening in Mali, that artificial fuel crisis blocking ways, that is really throwing the country into some kind of chaos. They are forced to close education the education system, like the ongoing education is now, it has been stopped. Also other services, the healthcare and the market and everything. So they are crippling the economy of these countries, and also the security as well. For me, the only option is for countries in West Africa, those member of ECOWAS, those who are sharing borders with Niger or Burkina Faso or Mali, have to come up and they have to speak. Well, unless that happens, forget even the African Union, their own region. And that's not happening. Everybody stands against them. When you have those all odds, I don't even know how one can thrive. Um, but they are trying their best, and their people are really sacrificing themselves, and they are paying the price, because each and everybody's household will be affected by this, when because of the sanctions that's happening, because of the terrorist groups, what they block the ways, and then they attack also people. uh, yeah, unity is the only answer. It might seem a luxury, but this is the only way out for this country. I may, I don't know, if I am wrong, then I stand to be corrected. But let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this? What is the way out for this continuous French government plot against the Sahel states? At this point, is there even a way out? Yeah, let us know in the comment section. So all of you who are here, Malik, Shaka, I see somebody else, David, Dimod, all of you, thank you for your input, Talema as well. And I will see you on the next one. That was it for me. Ciao, ciao.